Hello, my name is Mark Saunders, and this is a YouTube video presentation looking at one aspect of online questionnaires, and that's how to gain respondent consent. And throughout this presentation, we're going to see different pictures of people using laptops, in effect responding to questionnaires. And the point of these pictures is to illustrate how when we do an online questionnaire, we don't know where people are actually going to be filling it in or completing it. This is one of a series of YouTube videos I've done on my YouTube channel, Mark Saunders on Research Methods, and the link to it is on the bottom left-hand corner of every slide. In this presentation, we're going to look at what we mean by informed consent and inferred consent, and then we're going to look at the opening statement in an online questionnaire. So when you actually start off the questionnaire, when you get to it, what do you actually say? And then we're going to look at how we request respondent consent in the online questionnaire. So let's start off by looking at what we mean by informed consent and inferred consent. Informed consent occurs when our respondents actually consent to participate, and they give this consent freely, and they're fully informed about the nature of the questionnaire, its purpose, how it's going to be used in terms of what the research is going to be used for, and what their role is as a respondent in this research. And on the basis of this information, they can actually say, I consent to take part in the questionnaire and to take part in the research as well. Inferred consent occurs when we don't know whether or not the respondents fully understand the implications of taking part, but we know that they've consented because they've actually participated and complete the questionnaire. So in effect, what we're doing as a researcher, we're assuming that they've consented, but we haven't really clarified what the research is about. So they're in effect, they're consenting without full knowledge about the research. Obviously, from our own perspective, when we're undertaking research, we much prefer to have informed consent because the respondents have been able to make a sensible decision based on full information. So let's just imagine that your respondent has received the email, they've read through the letter asking them to take part, and then they click on the hyperlink, and that takes them to the cloud-based questionnaire. And then we have an introduction which we've written, and it starts off with the title about what research, and then it tells the respondent what the purpose of the research is, why we want them to complete the questionnaire. We give them some assurances of confidentiality, perhaps anonymity as well. We emphasise the voluntary nature of participation and that they're free to withdraw at any time without having to say why. We give them an idea of how long the questionnaire will take, and we try to be realistic here rather than being overly optimistic. Tell them how to complete the questionnaire, how to submit the questionnaire, and then say thank you, and here's some further contact details. So what might this look like? Well, here we have one at the start of the questionnaire. There's a heading which says Anytown Private Hospital Staff Survey, Your Voice Matters. Then there's a paragraph explaining why the survey is being carried out. The paragraph about anonymity and being strictly with street of confidence. Then what to do if you want to take part, and then thanking them if they've got any questions. Let's look at these in a bit more detail. But before we move to that, just remember, if you want to use this as a pro forma to base your own one on, just pause the presentation and then you can take a photograph with your mobile phone or screenshot it. So let's start off at the very beginning. This survey is being carried out to find out how you feel about the hospital's policies to support colleagues like you in your work. Your answers are essential to build an accurate picture of those issues that are important to improve our support for our employees. And so we have what the research is about in the first sentence, and in the second sentence, why the recipient's response is needed. So we're explaining it clearly to them. Let's not move on through the summary at the beginning. The next paragraph says, you cannot be identified for the information you provide, which will be treated with the strictest confidence. Your decision to take part in this research is voluntary. So we've got assurances of confidentiality in the first sentence, and in the second sentence we emphasise that taking part is voluntary, so you don't have to do it. This is especially important for employee surveys. The next paragraph says, if you decide to take part, the questionnaire should take about 5 minutes of your time. Please answer the questions in the space provided. Try to answer them at a time when you're unlikely to be disturbed. Even if you feel the questions may not apply directly to your working life, please do not ignore them. So in other words, we want them to answer every question, to take the questionnaire in a place where they're not going to be interrupted. And so the first part of this paragraph says how long it will take, and the second part explains how to complete the questionnaire. If we now look at the final paragraph, this says, I hope you will be willing to complete the questionnaire and thank you for your time. If you have any queries or want further information about the project, please contact me, and then there's a telephone number, or email me on, and then there's the email address, and then it's signed at the bottom. It may have another thank you sometimes. So what we have here is the thanks, and then we have the further information and where to contact and the details of this. So that's the bit that goes at the very beginning of the questionnaire once they've clicked on the hyperlink. The other part is to make sure they are actually actively consenting, and so it's informed consent rather than inferred consent. And here we have the request for respondent's consent. Starts off by saying, thank you for your interest in this research. Before you start the questionnaire, I, that's you as researcher, need to make sure you know what my research is about, what your involvement will be, and for you to confirm that you agree to take part. In other words, that you consent. And then we have a series of statements which they have to agree to. And it says, by agreeing to take part in this research, you are confirming the following. I am participating in a research study. I have been given an explanation of research I'm about to participate in, and I know what this involves. This is why it's important to explain what it involves in the previous statements. My participation in this research is entirely voluntary, and I am free to withdraw at any time without explanation. My identity cannot be linked to my data, and information I give remains anonymous. If we state this, we have to make sure we actually do it. And then finally, if I have any questions about the research, I can contact, and then the contact person's email address and the phone number. And then finally, it says, do you agree to take part, yes or no? If the respondent clicks on yes, it takes them to the first question of the questionnaire. And if the respondent says no, it takes them to the end and says, thank you for considering it. And then that's it. So they don't have to record any information. So there you have how to explain to your potential respondent what your research is about, and then how to gain informed consent. As always with these presentations, we finish with some follow-up reading, and here we have a reference to Don Dillman and colleagues' book, Internet, Phone and Mixed Mode Surveys, the Tailored Design Method, and this gives a really interesting thing as to how to word these different sections of your questionnaire. And then my own book with Phil and Adrian, Research Methods Business Students, Chapter 11, has some more examples there as well of how to gain informed consent. I hope you found this YouTube video presentation useful, and I'd be really grateful if you'd subscribe to my channel, Mark Saunders on Research Methods, and also told your friends and colleagues about the channel as well. I'm adding new videos to the channel nearly every week, and hopefully they'll be of help to you in your own research.